Everybody, Invisiblekatana here with my review for episode 3 of Skeleton Crew, and I have to read this title off of my TV because I can't remember it by heart, but very interesting as an astrogration problem. Astrogration is quite a word that I've never heard of before, but it's for a good episode. I thought it was a decent episode. I'd say number 2 is definitely my favorite episode. Out of the 3 we've had so far, number 2 is still my favorite one. I do think this one did a decent job where it was like, all right, we're going from point A to point B. We got, everybody together. It's like, all right, are you a Jedi? Are you not a Jedi? I would assume he's not a Jedi, but he can use the Force. I know that theory's kind of been floating out there where people are like, what if he is just tricking them and it's magnets or this or that? And I'm like, it just seems too interesting that would be the case when it's like, why not just make him a Force? Honestly, as crazy as it would be as, a good twist, I would actually prefer it. And I've said this a million times. I think I said it a bunch during Ahsoka because it annoyed me, but I just want people that can use the Force, but they don't have every ability. I just really want them to do that at some point and just be like, yes, I can like pull stuff over and I can push some stuff. And then that's about it. I can't do a Jedi mind trick. Nobody's shooting lightning. I mean, put lightning in there. If you're gonna have everybody do everything, let me see some more lightning. That's what I really want to see. But like, why not just have people that can do like one thing over here and that's about it? Maybe they trained in it. Maybe, of course they know of the Jedi, but there's a lot of different elements. Considering the era that they're in, there's multiple ways they could go with it. He could just straight up be someone who was a young Jedi. Like, it's definitely possible considering his age. So I don't know the route they're going. I personally go with he just uses the Force. Obviously, he's certainly not a Jedi at this point. I don't know if he was a Padawan or anything like that, but clearly he learned in some way, shape, or form. I think it would be much cooler if he was never a Jedi. Maybe he just learned from someone else who used to be and he was just strong in the Force and he just never went down that route and didn't have to deal with all of Order 66. I'd like that. Just let him be a guy who can use the Force. That's all I really want personally. It's like, okay, he doesn't have to be a Jedi. Just let him be a dude who's a pirate that can use the Force. Why not? Like, that's fun to me. Like, that's fun. So I hope that is the case and it doesn't end up being a trick the whole time where it's like, yeah, I just had this thing over here and that thing, because I don't know how in the world they would explain the maneuver with the key. Like, that part just doesn't make sense. I'm like, how could he just be faking it and he just pulled a key from all the way over there all the way to himself? It's like, that just seems odd to be something that wasn't genuinely just the Force, but they're still messing around with it. And I do like how they play with it in certain elements. Like, you obviously have Wim and Neil, and they're just like, yeah, this is a Jedi. He's the best. He's the greatest. We have, KB, and I swear for some reason, I can't remember the captain girl's name, but I'm still calling non-solo for now. But episode 4, I'll have it down for sure. I'll have it down. But KB is the one who's in the middle where it's like, I ran the numbers, basically, like, statistically speaking, you're not a Jedi. But once again, that's very specific. That's not like, statistically speaking, you can't use the Force. That's crazy. So yeah, we'll see what happens. We will see what happens. But I'm like, just let him be someone who can use the Force for once. Just give us a Force user that's just not using the Force in like a Jedi way. That's it. That's all I want. In live action, we've technically had that. Like, even in like animation, it's in bits and spurts where it's like someone who's connected to the Force. Like, the Bendu is the example I think of, and it's just like he has a great connection to the Force. But like, just let a person be able to use the Force, and they're like, yeah, I figured it out, and I just do what I want. That's a better story than him faking it, in my personal opinion, because we've had so many decades of just, I'm a Jedi, I use the Force. I'm a Sith, I use the Force. Just be a person that can use the Force, and then you're just a person that uses the Force. That's all I want to see. Personal opinion, I've been waiting on that forever. I thought we were like halfway there with Ahsoka, and then by the end they were like, Sabine's a full Jedi, she can use all the powers, and I was like, oh, that kind of upset me, because I was kind of hoping she would just be in the sort of sensory realm of things, and then they would tie that in. Like, there's so many ways it made sense to not give her all the powers, and they still worked perfectly because she was already a Mandalorian. She doesn't need every Force power. It just made sense. But that's what I'm hoping. So I want to get that out there because that's been my thoughts for years now. Just give us a dude who can just use the Force. That's what I'm thinking. Definitely, if he was a Jedi, he's certainly not now. He's a pirate captain, formerly. But we'll see what happens with that as we get some more answers. But getting into answers, they officially made it happen. Episode 1 and 2, and I mentioned in my review, and I've seen other people mention it online. It was like, man, what's up with this planet? This seems weird. People can't leave. People can't enter. Someone mentioned, I saw this on Twitter, where they were like, they never said the New Republic. They would just say the Republic. And I didn't think of that. I thought of it for like half a second. I was like, oh yeah, Republic credits or whatever. But that was it. They just say the Republic. And it was just like, it kind of flew by me, but it was like, that's why it stood out. It was because they would say the New Republic. And then of course, this episode, and I like the fact that they just answered it, just boom, there it is. These kids are from like a super secret hidden treasure planet. It's not just a secret planet that is like a myth or a legend. It's like an actual thing that happened years and years and years ago, to the point that they don't know about the war, which once again, no one entering or leaving the planet. It was always hidden like that. There was, you know, a set of planets that were meant to be like this Republic treasure, and all of the other ones were found and destroyed, except for this one. For whatever reason, it was hidden quite well. And now it's just kind of out there, and they have no information of the world out, you know, of the galaxy, I should say, outside of their world, where it's like, oh, we learned about Coruscant and Alderaan. It's like, oh, you know, they're name dropping, and then they hit Alderaan. I was like, ooh. And then of course, our new character, whose name I of course can't remember, she was like, oh, I missed the war, did you? And they're like, what war? And she's like, oh, fascinating. So they're a bit out of the loop. They have no idea what's going on. Things are just kind of how they are. The Republic is just the Republic. And considering it's the Republic and then the war, like them not even knowing Alderaan means that they're so far back, they're in the prequels. They're not just in like the new stuff or like the current era. And obviously this doesn't even get to the point of the sequel era, but they're still back in the prequel era, where it's like, this, you know, this is the Republic, like the Republic Senate and all this crap. Like that's what they're still doing, and it's crazy. And I'm excited to see how that ends up like panning out. And there's still a lot of questions as far as what do their parents actually know, as far as the secrets of this planet, with them having like this whole hierarchy system, like, you know, with of course with the mother of our captain. Her whole thing seems to be like she's the one of the people, you know, at the very top. A lot of the kids are like, you know, my parents are analysts. Like, oh, my parents are analysts too. Like, what are they analyzing? What is this great work that they're talking about? So there's still some questions there for sure that need to be answered, and I'm definitely looking forward to getting some of those answers. We did get to see some X-Wings in this. That was pretty nice. The kids actually fired at some X-Wings. That was actually pretty nice. So other than that, they also figured out that I'm just gonna call him Crimson Jack because I honestly cannot remember. It's like something Wood is like his middle/last name, but we're gonna go with Crimson Jack. So it's like, well, who the F is Crimson Jack? And then that puts another little wrinkle in his plan to be like this guy who can take advantage of the kids. And he's trying to work with them. He's like, hey, I'll get you home, maybe get a little bit of a reward. So he's at least somewhat honest about it, where it's like, all right, I do want a reward. Like, I definitely do. But there are a lot of elements. You know, we of course have the rest of the pirate crew chasing after them, so they're gonna figure it out. Somebody, and I think I mentioned this in my last review, somehow they're gonna figure out like, oh, these kids are actually from this secret treasure planet. They're gonna kidnap one of the kids or all the kids, stuff like that. Like there's gonna be some splitting of the group, and they're gonna be like, oh, this planet's real, let's find out where this planet really is. So I don't know if I expect them to have like an insane crazy star battle or anything crazy like that, where they find the planet and then all these pirates are trying to steal the treasure of the planet or anything like that. I don't think it'll go that crazy, but something's gonna happen, and I'm definitely looking forward to more answers, you know, because there's still so many questions. I love the fact that we're in an element of Star Wars where it's a mystery because this planet's just been hidden for so long, and them finding out about the galaxy is going to be really interesting, with the kids being like, what do you like, you know, the Empire, like this bad thing happened and all of these other things. And it also makes it really interesting because with them having the information of Jedi and stuff like that, I always assumed, you know, like when the show first started, I was like, oh, okay, you know, they have Jedi. And I think it was just references, because I was like, these are clearly clips from like the other Star Wars movies. And now I realized those are just like references that they threw in, but it was just like generic Star Wars stuff. And I thought that was really interesting because, you know, we're back in the prequel era type stuff. That's why Jedi are just like, oh, Jedi are so cool, and I would love to be a Jedi, because they sell books like that. It's like, oh yeah, the Republic Jedi are super cool. They've probably never seen a Jedi, that sort of thing, because the galaxy's big. You just don't see Jedi. So I like that idea where it was like, oh, that's why Jedi could be idealized. It wasn't something after the Empire fell where it was like, oh, now we can, you know, disseminate information about what the Jedi used to be and stuff like that. This kid just grew up on Jedi based on information from, you know, at this point, it's kind of the old Republic, really. So I thought that was actually really cool once that connection was really made. It's like, oh, this stuff is old. It also might explain why his toys were absolute trash. I don't understand that. In the first episode, it was like, maybe those were his dad's toys or something, because I'm like, I'm sorry, but you got some garbage stuff. Like, get that kid some like Black Series or something. But that was really sad. That was really sad. But really good episode, really good for the information. I wish it was longer. That was like the one thing with this, because I felt like we got some good stuff. Obviously, you know, the chase sequence and them going through. I like having the confrontation between Jack and Smee, where it was like, you know, what's your plan, you know, on the ship or whatever. And he tried to like stare down a droid like, oh, don't you worry about that. And then he had to like put on the little piston boots and was like over him, and he was like, oh, buddy, I'm playing. And of course, he had to be threatened at the end of the episode, like, we're not gonna let you on this ship until you promise to like actually help us out. And then of course, he looked at me and he just like set off the blowtorch. And I was like, that's really funny. Like, he can obviously pull one over on the kids. He can even forcibly just push them out of the way, possibly even force push, but he cannot do that to that droid. He will piston punch him and his ribs will crack and he'll be done for. So, it's an uneasy alliance at this point. The kids can't really trust him 100%, even at this point, especially with him being like, I never really said I was a Jedi. I think he's 100% lost confidence with all the kids, but they'll still try to figure things out. Like, okay, well, if you're not a Jedi, how do you know how to use the Force? Stuff like that. So I think that's a good idea. Love the line early on in the episode where he knew somebody was coming down the hall and it was like, oh, Jedi can sense people. And then KB said like, hold on. And it's like, oh, maybe KB can use the Force. And he smiled and was like, this kid got me. And then he hit her with the line like, the Force flows through us all. And I was like, that's a really funny line because it goes either way. If he's not a Jedi, even, which we found out at the end, like he can use the Force, or if that's even a mystery, he can't use the Force. It's still a great line because it's like, yeah, we've heard that a million times. The Force flows through us all. It flows through all things. That's how the Force works. So it's like, that could just be a Jedi line that he knows because he actually did train with Jedi, even if he wasn't one himself. He was, a Padawan. Or it could just be a thing that he came up with on the fly, where he's just like, the Force flows through us all. I would think he does know enough about the Force to just randomly spout that, but at the same time, he could just be throwing it out there. So I thought that was cool. I thought that was a nice, funny line where it's like, I don't know if that's an actual lesson he knew, because they threw it at us where it's like, if you're, watching this, it's like, all right, yeah, Yoda told me that. Obi-Wan told me that, like, the Force flows through all things. Qui-Gon said it, I think. So it's a line that definitely fits. We've heard it multiple times, but typically it's from a legit mentor where we're like, I know that I can trust you. And this guy's like, it could have just been a really good line from him that happens to connect to people that we trust. So they might have done it on purpose to kind of play with us, to be like, oh, he's a Jedi and all that good stuff. But I thought it was funny either way. When he smiled, I was just like, this little bit. Force flows through us all. Let me get out of this one. So I definitely like that. But I wish the episode was a little longer. That's generally like the only thing, because I was really enjoying the element of like the whole mystery where it's like, them revealing that the planet was hidden, the kids not knowing anything about the war, all of that stuff I really, really like. And so of course I want more answers. So we'll see what happens with the next episode and, going forward, and how long the episodes really end up being, if we'll have, more two-parters or anything like that. But definitely enjoyed it. Yet another good one. So of course, we'll love to know your thoughts on this episode. So please put your comments down in the comment section below. Let me know your favorite parts about it, your least favorite parts about it. Of course, with the mystery of the planet, I would love to know your theories on how this is going to play out. The kids are going to get home somehow. Will they get home with Jack? Will they get home because of the other pirates finding out where the planet is themselves? They have an idea of where the planet is, because I think the whole point was like, she was stalling, but I'm like, did she really? They still had a list of 1,000 planets, so it's like they still have to narrow down a very long list of planets, even if she did narrow it down to 1,000, or maybe even a little less, possibly even a couple hundred, because of the symbols that were on the backpack. So it's like, there's a connection there, and it may have gone down, but the last number we did here was like, oh, it takes it down to like 1,000 planets, or maybe it was 10,000, I'm not sure. But either way, 100 planets is still a lot, especially when it's like, well, it's, you just hop in and they're going to need fuel and this, that, and the other. They're being chased. So there's a million things, regardless of if it was even 10 planets. And odds are, because it's storytelling, they wouldn't find their home on the first planet, because that's just how storytelling goes. And if they did, then that would be crazy. And then some other crazy stuff would happen right after that. So either way, we'll see. But like I said, we'd love to know your thoughts and theories going forward. So please put your comments down in the comment section below. And of course, thanks for watching.